Like, isn't it so much, like, it's such a relief when you're like, oh, I need a hammer for something, and then you have one already. Because if you don't, then you're like, you're wanting to go buy a hammer, and then two, you're like, man, how did I go so long without a hammer? How did I have to like nail anything? And then you're like questioning why you haven't been more active in like building this.
That happened when we moved in here.
You have to buy a hammer after a year of being here. We bought a hammer.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, should I use a big book?
Yeah.
Should I just use the back of the screwdriver? Also,
Yeah.
wait, we didn't have screwdrivers. Forget that, out of the window.
No.
We were very Home Depot-y people, as you can tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. What's the slogan for Home Depot? Does anyone know?
Not Jordan.
Do it yourself.
It is do it yourself. You're right. That's right, guys. And do yourself a favor and listen to our guest for today's episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. This is Jill Burke. Give it for Jill Burke, guys.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Are we starting?
You are Jill Burke. Yes.
Oh my God.
Welcome.
Yes.
Hi.
I just realized also.
Nobody else is named Jill here.
Yeah.
Or Burke.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Or Burke Jill.
Do you have a middle name?
Aaron.
Jill Aaron Burke.
Like Ireland.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have an Irish background?
My grandma's side of the family, like my maternal grandmother, her whole side of the family is from Ireland.
Okay, cool. Do you know what counties they're from?
No, but we have that somewhere. Somebody like traced it back. So I know, like, I could find it, but I don't know it off the top.
That's like literally the question. Anyone who has ever like even like been anywhere near Ireland, the first thing they ask like what county is it from? Because like counties like pride in your county is like a big thing. It's like I don't know if it's like equivalent to like it's probably like bigger than people's like state pride.
What county are you from? Is your family from?
So my grandma, my grandma and my grandpa, and my dad's side are both from Ireland. My grandma's from County Mayo. Shout out to Mayo. My grandpa is from County Carlow. So shout out to the good people of Carlow listening to.
Yeah, you know they're really white. They're from
Right. Yes, so true. It is very indicative. There are a lot of white people in Ireland. It is a fact.
the birthplace of Mayo.
Yes, the birthplace of Mayo.
Not to be confused with the Mayo Clinic, where Mayo goes to die.
Yes.
Oh.
No, sometimes I can save the Mayo if it's not totally
Yeah,
done
it's a
yet.
clinic.
Yeah. Well, Jill, thank you for being on the podcast. I'm Brendan O'Brien.
I'm Reena Ezra.
And I'm Jordan Freed.
And that's how we choose this episode.
Who are those voices in the background?
That's right. Now you know us. Now you're here. So, Jill, we're going to continue this podcast. Before we continue with the podcast, I don't know if you noticed, we have a challenge for you to complete throughout the course of this podcast.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yes. So, Jordan, would you like to give Jill, our guest, the challenge?
Yeah, well, something that you may not know at home if you are getting your first introduction to Jill Burke is that she is a wickedly talented artist. In many ways. Mm-hmm. And I think she might have majored in it in college. Something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to find out now.
She majored in something. We'll ask her the questions later.
Something.
I'm just like...
These are teasers.
I'm just like trying to bridge together the past of just so many moments. But Jill, you are going to be tasked with just coming up with painters. Just any painters. So like, yeah,
Let's
just
start with
whatever.
Picasso.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's a classic one.
Do you guys have any opinions on Picasso?
Like as an artist or as a human being?
Good question.
Well, both. Sounds like you do have.
No, I don't have any opinions actually. I just wanted the question to be clarified. So I'm alright because I want to say other painting. So no, you tell me what are your opinions on Picasso? I guess this is a better question.
I actually think he is a brilliant painter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he was like extremely exploitative. And I feel like he kind of stole from other people. Like Cubism, he kind of stole from another artist named Brock. They were both like doing Cubism together, and like Picasso gets all the credit.
And that was like a conscious thing. Like he like very consciously like stole this stuff and was like
They were like
discrediting.
best friends.
Whoa.
Painting together, and then
Darn.
nobody knows who Brock is though.
Oh my god.
People think Picasso invented Cubism.
No, the only Brock I know is from Pokemon.
Yeah, same. No, and Brock Lesnar. But was he like a very Brocky painter? He sounds like he was like a totally jack painter. I don't know if that's accurate.
Picasso's totally jacked.
Totally jacked. Yeah.
I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, isn't that so fascinating though? Like at one point, like you used to be like so close, like working together, and I guess like for them it was like the rivalry of wanting to succeed that kind of pushed them apart.
I think they were both pursuing like new ways to paint, and they were like taking on the same experiments together. Like, you can kind of see how Cubism evolves over time. Like, they first were painting houses that they saw, like, in the hills. And then, like, the houses slowly became, like, more... like, the blocks started to be in the landscape and the rocks, too. And it sort of just morphed. So, yeah.
But is it considered stealing then? Like, was Brock the one who did it first? Or was... Also, because each piece of art that someone makes is now out into the open, doesn't... Like, it's now can be... basically go through a metamorphosis through many different artists.
Is it a dialogue?
I think what I like most about art history is thinking about the actual artist, like, just as a person functioning in the world. So, like, I think about Picasso and Brock. I think they were living together. They were, like, roommates, both striving to be amazing artists and be successful. And they're working on these projects together. And then the final result is that one of them gets huge acclaim and becomes, like, one of, like, a household name. And the other one, nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think that was like?
I mean, I understand that.
Awkward.
Like, right?
Hey, buddy.
Extremely. No, yeah. Picasso could have been like, hey, no, don't give me 100% the credit. Like, this is my friend Brock. Like, we did it together or whatever. But Picasso probably, like, basically was just like, yeah, yes.
He's like, Brock who?
Totally.
Nah, don't know.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes
that's
down
hard.
to it, it's whoever has the rich guy behind them, right? Who ends up being the artist that people remember because they have the most money and they have the legacy that their grandchildren are able to pay for.
You're so right. And actually, Picasso was sponsored by the Catholic Church when he was, like, 14.
Wow.
What? But it's because he was such an amazing painter. Like, he was painting...
But what a sponsorship.
I know.
That was like being
Come
on
on.
TikTok back in the day.
Yeah.
You would get the church to hit
So
you up.
powerful.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
The Vatican's like, I don't know. Sponsor you.
Blue check.
TikTok influencer. But I mean, speaking of art in general, well, actually, let me go back. Let's go back to your history with art up until this point.
Okay.
Because we have to, I think, explore that before we get into any other individual deep pockets.
Okay.
So, what was your first interaction with a piece of art? Can you recall that?
Whoa.
I know it's extremely broad of a question because art takes many forms.
That makes me want to take a hit of the bong.
Actually, I think my first interactions with art would have been with children's books. Because I consider that the illustrations in some children's books are so gorgeous.
Yes.
Like, I remember we've all read Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Maurice Sendak wrote also this book called Outside Over There. Have you guys ever read that?
No.
Weird book. It's about, like, a little girl, and she's got a little sister who's a baby, and she's left at home to watch her sister. She doesn't pay attention, and these goblins come and steal the baby and replace it with a stone baby.
Oh my gosh.
And she has to take the stone baby, like, she has to go find the goblins and get her baby sister back. It's kind of like Labyrinth, actually.
I was gonna say, it sounds exactly like Labyrinth, except I don't think he left the stone baby. I think he just took the baby and then just dipped out.
Yeah. Maybe Labyrinth was based on that.
How
Yeah.
unusual.
But the illustrations are really cool.
Wow.
And I remember that really vividly. I remember, like, Jumanji really vividly.
Yeah.
Just, like, being so into the pictures. Yeah. I would say that's probably in, like, the most traditional sense. Like, a still image that you just look at and you're like, wow, I'm having an emotional reaction to this image.
Yes. When did you come to the decision where you're like, I want to make stuff on my own?
So I really didn't know that I wanted to do art until I was in college. Well into college, actually. I was, like, 3 semesters in, maybe 4 semesters
And this
in.
was at Tulane University?
Yep, this was at Tulane. Yeah, I, like, was so wrong about what I thought I was gonna do. Like, I went to school, started out as an engineering student. That was a big mistake.
Which branch of engineering? What kind of engineering?
Well, it was like all gen ed.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just the classes that are like weeding out the people who are not made to do calculus.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it was like, it was still cool to take the classes. Like, it was still kind of cool, but I just was terrible at it. And then I like bounced to like, I thought I was going to do business or communications or something, but fortunately at Tulane we had like a fine art credit that you had to take. That was a requirement. And I took drawing, and I had never like really tried to technically like academically draw.
Have you doodled? You always doodled in the past?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely looking back, like, I was always drawn to visual art, but I never really, like, thought that was a serious possibility for me. Like, I wouldn't have imagined. I used to be really into Latin in high school. I thought I might do something with Latin.
Wow, the success rate for doing something in Latin versus art. I feel like they're kind of equivalent. No, sorry.
I thought I might like teach it. I don't know.
Gotcha. Yes. But also, people do say Latin's a dying language, so that's why I just thought.
They've been saying that for a long time though. It hasn't died yet though. It's a surviving language.
It's very true.
It's
very true. It's the underdog. It's proving everyone wrong.
Yeah.
It still is kind of useful because it affects so much of the English language.
Oh, sure. It's
Yeah.
the source. It's
But you're right. It is
origin.
kind of useless overall. Like, we can learn new definitions.
But like with art, it's just very funny that what you just said, this piece of the story is very common with so many people, so many other students, like artists, just in general. People are like, yeah, I went toward the math and sciences, and even though I knew this is something I enjoyed as a kid or would do it often or find myself in my room, like this is what brought me joy. It takes us a while to get there. Like, you're saying college, like, I feel that. I agree.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Were you putting...
I just thought I was, like, super behind.
On what?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people around me figured out what they wanted to do really early on, but they weren't necessarily artists. But it was still, like... They knew right away.
Yes. Yeah.
And I didn't know right away at all. I was so confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say you also have that experience, Brendan, or?
Yeah. Well, I think anytime that you like pivot from what you were doing at one point, because like I went to school at one college for a year, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then I changed it. And I think anytime you do that, like you do feel like you have to play catch up a little bit. So it's like a very interesting thing where it's like. You have to kind of like work through that, but I think eventually once you're doing what you like, what you love to do for long enough, you're just like, nah, I'm on the right path. Like I'm glad that I'm just happy that I'm doing it now. It's like you're at least grateful that you like got to the place where you got to with what you like to do.
But it does take trial and error. Like, how are you supposed to know if you prefer this career over that, or this job over that job? Which is why, like, there definitely is something important about vocational school, but or electives. Even when you take electives in college or high school, when they give you opportunities to take stuff that were like electives in college while like you're in high school, because that's the only glimpse you get at it. That's the only like hands-on, because. I don't know, not a lot of kids are like self-exploring, like doing it themselves, where they're like, oh, I'm going to go, if it's not, school oriented. Some people don't have like the confidence to go out and just pursue whatever it is.
Right. They
don't even know, like, I just totally understand how that feels.
Yeah.
You're like lost, or you're not sure. Yeah, you're just like, I don't know if I'll like this or that, or I have to do it hands-on first in order to know if this is something that I'm totally into or totally not into.
Yes.
It's just,
Yes.
Which they expect us to know at a very young age, which I still feel is odd.
Yes, agreed. Yes, and for those of you guys listening at home, if you are connecting the dots, that's right. Jordan Freed also who went to Tulane University. If you might have guessed the connection, we actually have Miss Jill Burke here because of Jordan and Jill. So would you guys mind talking about the first time that you guys met, or the time you became friends, or just a story you have of being friends in general?
Gosh, I don't think I remember when we first met.
I don't remember when we first met.
Actually,
Jordan, you don't remember.
Actually, Jill said she didn't remember first.
I remember
I
remember the time period.
I remember.
I think. Well, it's not. It doesn't matter. Whatever you say, he'll probably.
My perception of remembering it was like Jill was hanging out with the boys.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my perception of it.
And they were like, oh.
I was also hanging out with the boys. I was not one of the boys, but I was hanging out with the boys.
Like boys is just a group of friends. The boys are okay.
They're a gang. The boys.
my roommates, some San Francisco people.
It's the boys, you know, the boys.
This gang? Yeah, I'm sorry. I asked for all these details to the story. Just forget it. Go on. Sorry. Just
some random people.
Continue. Yeah, no, I don't care about their names.
The infamous Shark 4.
Social security number.
The floor that I was on was very
What was
known
your
for
first?
people making mistakes.
Yeah.
What was your first interpretation of each other?
Well, so that's the thing is I don't remember if it was when I first met you or before I had met you, but I associated you with the boxers and briefs. Boxers and briefs. Briefs and
There's
boxers.
definitely a moment when I became Jay Freeze and like the raps came out. I had some high school raps. Yeah, some raps from high school.
We've never seen.
Yeah, what is
Boxers
Boxers and
and
Briefs?
Oh my gosh, you guys haven't seen that video?
No, we've been deprived.
Everyone, listening, join us in Googling and finding the Boxers and Briefs video.
People are gonna want this on the Patreon.
I had to take down a lot of the
can't-
raps. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
But
Were
I think
you
some of them are
just
still
wearing
up. I think Yo Dylan Owen is still up
boxers?
too. Dylan Owen is a local rapper to Goshen, New York. And then I called him out. He like plays with Nate Sanders.
But were you just wearing underwear?
No. It was
Oh,
it was just the
darn it.
difference between briefs and boxers. And it was also like a happy birthday video for my friend Tom. So it's just like there's that like added funniness to it that like I gave a shout out to Tom, who would be a good guest on the podcast.
So Tom, if you're
Hey
listening.
Tom.
Hey Tom.
Yo, we got chocolates, man. Okay.
We got chocolates.
Do you have chocolates? I don't think so.
He might be a good holiday season one if we can have him. I don't know. Maybe he's in New York.
We'll find you, Tom.
Fine, Tom.
Yeah.
Jill, what was your like overall experience of being in college at Tulane University, though?
Or New Orleans.
Or New Orleans, yeah, New
is
Orleans.
probably the better
I
question.
feel like Tulane was like madness.
Hmm.
I liked New Orleans a lot. I mean, New Orleans is like amazing.
Mm.
Like, it's such a surreal place.
Mm.
Like, the whole city is like being overgrown. There's beautiful trees, and you guys have been there.
Yes.
I've not, but
You've not.
yeah, but
Brendan
Reena
has
just went.
not.
Yeah.
I just went recently for the first time. Yes.
Yeah. Would you say that?
Loved it.
How would you say that New Orleans inspired your art while you were there?
Well, New Orleans is like everything because it's when I realized that I wanted to be an artist. Or realized that I was an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I didn't have a choice. Like, once I realized it, I was like, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna, like, go for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, everything really fell into place there. Because, like, I majored in digital art, which just ended up being, like, exactly what I needed. Like, it was like, I need to do this. Like, I need to be creative. I'm best at visual art. Like, this is my top skill. But like, I couldn't like major in sculpture. Like, that would be so crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wait, no, why is that crazy? Don't people major in sculpture? Do they?
I guess
I
they
think
do.
for sure people concentrate in sculpture or glass blowing.
No, but just explain to me why is that crazy for you? Why did you not, for visually, what is the...
Like, people hire graphic designers. Nobody's hiring sculptors.
Unless you're a real good sculptor.
Yeah, or you can sculpt out something really weird.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, well, so
pizza.
here's the thing, though. What I was gonna say earlier, with art in general, right? Whatever form you pick, when you're just selling in the art business, let's say, right? How this is run you know, and how it's just the animal is just very. I mean, would you say, Jill, that it is difficult to grasp your footing, for you to because it feels so, what is the word I'm looking for? It just feels a little, when it comes like with painters and they're in, you know, galleries and people are selling art, when you're a really, really big name, or you have to be dead and then you're finally worth a lot, or, you know, your worth in art. I mean, that is just, I'm saying painting specifically, but is it, I don't know, is it like just a difficult business to grasp your footing and having, you know, a fan base or having like credibility? Or can you explain at all at least your what, if you've come head to head with any of that?
So for me personally, I've never like relied on art to make a living. Like I have a graphic design job that is like, you know, paying the bills. And my goal right now is not to make money off of my art, because that will take so much time and energy. Because that's more like, oh, you have to get your prints made and shipped, and you have to, you know, make sure your website is up to shape, and like all kinds of energy that has nothing to do with art. So like for me right now, I'm just trying to get to the point where I have my like perfect is impossible, but like my ideal version of my own art and like my style. Like that's my goal, because then once I get there, then I think it will be worth it to like set up a business. Like right now, I'm like 92% happy and satisfied with like what I'm drawing and like where I'm at in terms of like finally having my own style, where every time I sit down to make an image, I'm like, I know exactly what I'm gonna do.
So are you referring to your comics?
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody at home or in their cars or wherever they are listening about your amazing comics? Also, how you cultivated this idea.
Okay, so the comic strip I'm writing currently is called Catatonia, and I started it when I was probably 19, and I started it during a semester off in college. I took a semester off because I was super confused, and I was working a job at a chiropractor's office, and it was an administrative job, and I hated it. It was so boring, like doing nothing, because it was like the chiropractor would travel to different places, so he would be in this office location like 2 days a week, and this office location another 2 days a week, and I worked the days that he wasn't there, doing like filing and like restocking things, but it was like so little work. It was mostly just me like sitting at a desk. And occasionally, like maybe once a day, someone would come in and like buy a supplement. But anyway, that's boring. I don't know why I went into all that detail.
But that's what makes the artist.
Yeah, details
boring
matter.
jobs.
But it's also you value your time.
Yeah.
How do you want to spend your time?
Yeah, and it's really hard to sit in a room for 8 hours and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I would read Reddit. Like, I was like, what should I, like, I don't want to do anything bad because I'm at work. So, like, what can I do that's, like, kind of, like, work? Even though I have, whatever. I don't need to go into it. Yeah, you get it. I was really
You
bored.
read it, you know it.
I was really bored, and I was really disillusioned. Yeah. And I was like, I fucking hate this, like, whatever. And I started writing about a character who was going through something similar. So I created my green alien girl, who is 64318, and she lives on the planet Catatonia, which is a planet where all they do is work. And they have nothing in their life but work. And they don't really desire other things. they're just like accepted that this is their life and are resigned to it, which is why I called it catatonia, because it's like catatonic. If you're in a catatonic state, you're just, there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like most of the people in that world, or most of the aliens on that planet, they're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
And so 64318 is the one who we focus on, and she's tired of it. Like, she's disillusioned with it. She thinks there's like, you know, she's not satisfied. And she like skips out on work one day and happens to kind of collide with this astronaut who's crashing onto her planet. And he's just kind of like a wayward traveler, and they kind of like strike up a friendship conversation. And he convinces her to like go fly off into space and like play hooky, basically. And then it just kind of goes from there with like their sort of like friendship. And like the astronaut's kind of goofy, and like our alien is really like encyclopedic. And they just kind of like learn from each other, and it's like about meeting different people, you know, like meeting people who are really different from you, or like, you know, thinking about life experiences that are really different from yours. And yeah, that's kind of like how I conceptualized it when I started it.
Cool.
I love it. It's exciting. Anytime you make a post, I love how it looks, and it just like immediately when I saw it, I was just like, oh my God, please make this animated. I don't know, like I'm not, you know, no pressure at all. Like I don't like saying that is the direction you're going to or whatever, but just when it's the relationship between the astronaut and it's just so cute. Like there's just so many things, like the cat, which I was like curious if that cat was inspired by, because you have a cat, one cat, two cats, one cat, two cats.
I've got
You do have two cats.
But yeah, Key Cat, she's based on my first cat, Yuki. She's kind of a demanding and has like a very strong personality. So
yeah,
that's adorable.
What made you pick the number you picked for the main character?
I don't think there was any rhyme or reason to it. I just liked how it sounded and looked.
Yes. Yeah, it's like very like poetic, like
yeah,
rhythm
right.
to it. Yeah, kind of goes like up and down, like 6-4. It's like 6-4-3-8-1, right?
64318.
318.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a name.
Yeah, it does.
And I like that the astronaut can call her Sixy.
Oh,
it's kind of like sexy.
Yeah,
like, but it's like a little like.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a little hint, you know?
Yeah.
This would be such great content for like any age too, which is like another reason why I love it, because it's
sometimes I swear.
It's for but
kids need to swear too, okay?
They probably
They
probably hear it at home already.
Oh yeah.
But like the meaning, the overall, you know, message or whatever somebody gets from it can be either an adult or a kid or somebody in between or somebody who's old. Like it's just a very fun range that you have, and like you could. You know, if it were like morphed into a TV show, people would watch it. If it's just a comic strip, when it's like full and complete, people would read it. Like, it's just enticing. It's very, I just really enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, was there like a specific comic or like a type of comic that got you interested in comics in general?
So comics are one thing that I have been doing for a very long time.
How long?
I started drawing comics a lot when I was like 11. And I pretty much have, that's one thing that I don't even think about that as like art, because it's more like writing kind of, or just like joking around. Like we used to draw, I had like one class in 6th grade where I was sitting with two of my like best friends. We like randomly got assigned to a table together, and it was like, like we're getting away with something. And I don't remember why, but we started drawing comics like about each other, or like us like talking to the teacher.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any of those? Did you keep any of the
I have
ones?
some, yeah.
Oh,
that's really
cool.
neat.
Yeah, actually.
There's gonna be a Jill Burke museum.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna see her evolution of it. And you're like, oh my god.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Because it's also, oh my god, make a museum where it is actually just an art gallery that obviously it's an art gallery, but that people have to go through, and then there's like, you know, like, oh my gosh.
That was one of the first installations I saw. I saw a lot of your digital art.
On Tulane campus?
Right? That would be like your senior project?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing your senior project.
Oh, how neat.
Which I wrote a comic book for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like spread out among the walls.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I wrote all my...
You had multiple things in the
I put all my sketches
project,
on the
right?
wall, and then I
Along
made a
with
copy
that.
of the book,
Yeah.
and then I had like a digital art print that I had made, and a couple of like watercolor paintings.
Oh, cool. It's like many phases.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Is
It's supposed to be like, look, I got an education.
Well, you did. You're
Yeah.
doing stuff with it. Is there something in regards to your comics? Is one that comes easier to you than the other, writing or your illustrations?
I think writing is easier. Yeah. Because like for me, my characters are like so real. I think about things they would say to me all the time. You know, they're like imaginary friends almost. So I think it's a lot easier to write because I just think about, I know these characters, and like I could put them in any situation and I'd know what they'd say.
Yeah.
And I know what they'd do.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite character of yours that you like think about from time to time? Or multiple if you don't want.
I don't think
one.
I can pick between like the main three right now, because the main three right now are like,
Your babies.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
they
64318, Fritz, and Keycat. Like I love all of them so much.
Yeah.
But I'm
Also,
really
your
enjoying.
villains. Your villains.
Oh, yeah.
They're very fun.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Jill, where can people find your illustrations or your comic work?
You can go to my website, which is vvcomics.net. I'm also on Instagram at vvcomics, V as in Victor. And yeah, that's.
And you're wearing a t-shirt.
I'm wearing my
From
VV
your
Comics
merch.
t-shirt. That's
V,
right.
Yeah. What does the
Gotta
first V
represent.
stand for, and what does the second V stand for?
So in the very early days of quarantine, I was kind of losing my mind, which, yeah, we all know what it was like.
Yeah, been there, felt that.
We all know what it was like. And I decided that I was going to, if I wasn't going to be able to leave my house, I was going to write a comic book. And I had this idea for a little graphic novella, like not very long, but I had this idea for one for a while, and I had a pretty good outline, and I decided I was going to write it and illustrate it, everything. And I decided I wanted to write it under a pen name. And I was like, that's going to be so cool. I'm going to have an alter ego. That's going to be so cool. And I came up with the name Valkyrie Vale, which is, I just like V's. Like, I think V is like a cool sound. But also I was thinking about, like a Valkyrie in Norse mythology is like a angel warrior woman with big wings, and her role in that world is to guide the souls of fallen soldiers to the afterlife. And I just thought that was like such a cool kind of surreal, transcendent character.
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be a really cool one. I don't know. Like, and I thought maybe like eventually I could write the comic about Valkyrie Vale. You know, like who is she?
Yeah.
She's like off on a planet somewhere. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll still do that. But yeah, so that's where VV comes from.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jill, when did you start thinking about aliens, and what do you think about them right now?
You know, I didn't think about aliens much in my life. Except for I did always like looking at the stars and like wondering what was out there. But I actually chose the alien character because I liked the idea of it was like a person that I could, use and like have them be sort of human-like, have like the same like thoughts and feelings that a human might have, but who could be like totally isolated and alone. Just like portray that like you're so far removed, you're so alienated.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked that. I thought it was like a good, like kind of lonely, but also like kind of magical like character.
Sure.
Of course, since then I've thought about aliens a lot. And I've gotten kind of into I think they're real, and I think they walk among us.
Like the skies.
Yeah. I'll just cut to the chase.
Yeah. Like do you think that they're pretending to be human beings, or are they?
I think some of them masquerade as human beings.
So do you have like an example?
Like alien-human hybrids.
Yeah.
Oh, hybrids.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are they using the humans as a host? Is that what you mean?
It's like aliens fucking humans, and then...
Okay, well, do you have a specific example? Like, do you think this person...
We want names of aliens.
Yeah, I don't want names.
I don't know their names, but I know some things about them. Like, I know that alien-human hybrids are usually, like, really androgynous. And they're usually very tall and, like...
Whew, I'm out, guys.
Human.
And I don't know all the details, but, yeah. But, I mean, I just... keep an eye out,
Yeah.
You probably know one when you see them.
Do you feel like you can have a certain sense if you are around? So how often would you say that you see someone or interact with someone and you're like, I think this might be an alien?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while. But I wonder that about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll meet a person, I'll be like, I'm pretty sure they were a vampire.
Yeah.
Dead ass.
Yeah. You think it's possible that anybody could be an alien but not realize that they're an alien?
I think that's definitely possible. I remember when I was in high school, like one of my teachers, I think it was a physics teacher, posed this question where he was like, are you guys human?
Wait, sorry, how old were you?
7:15 in the morning.
7
drops this question.
By the way, physics teachers were the gateway drug to Reddit.
Pot.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said you were 16, 17?
Probably like 17. Okay. But it was like, are you human? And we're all like, yeah. And he's like, well, how do you know? And it was like, well...
It sounds like the lyrics from The Killers. Are you human? Are you dancer?
Yeah.
Oh, the density class, that's what it was. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
yeah, so how would you...
Yeah.
What are the
because I have
requirements?
flesh and blood
Yeah.
and all this and that.
Yeah.
And he was like, how do you know that there's not a computer inside your brain?
I'm looking at
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah.
We don't know that.
You don't
and we
know.
do have to recharge. Like, you could go 3 days or else
You
you
have to
die or
sleep.
need to recharge, basically, right? Like,
Yes.
We don't really know. And we don't really know what happens before this or after this.
Yeah.
Any of you could be a robot.
I know. I think about that all the time.
Sent back from the future or sent from another planet.
Yeah.
So a human
Depends on the
being...
way
And you might not even know it.
Yeah. Because a lot of robots, at least especially a lot of sci-fi, it's depicted as they are modeled after humans. The Terminator. The Terminator, if you look at
That's
it,
like a cyborg?
yeah, well, if you look at the Terminator from the movies without the skin on them, they are modeled after the human skeleton, so it's made to look like a metal skeleton.
Yes.
And even the way that AI is, it's a model and an interpretation of what human beings are like. So I think that is one of the things about aliens, though, too, is I think it's in a way comforting and enjoyable to know that a creature that is definitely not human, is from somewhere very far away, still has things that humans can relate to, and still has things that humans are oh, thank God, I thought it was just humans that were like this, but there's also other creatures millions of miles away somewhere in a distant galaxy that are also like this too,
Yeah.
So Jill, if you could create like in like design and like what happens there, an ideal alien planet, what would it look like?
Whew. I mean, I'll just say ideal for me.
Yes. It's Jill World, so.
Right, okay. Well, honestly, I mean, I like Earth a lot, so I'd probably model it after Earth. With like a lot of mountains and waterfalls. But I'd want there to be different gravity. Like, I'd want there to be some places where you can sit, and like gravity's kind of nice sometimes, but it'd be cool to have places where you can like float or fly or whatever, stuff like that. It'd be cool to have like different levels of like atmosphere. Like maybe you can like be in like a wind zone that'll like you jump in the wind tunnel, but it's actually just wind, and you like float through the sky. Oh, that would be so fun.
That it can like very similar to the ocean, where there are different currents that take you quickly, and there are different areas. Like also like the Dead Sea, way more buoyant. So you float or see it's. So yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe your plane would have more things involving water than land, perhaps. I don't know. Because also how they test things for space, they test things underwater. Because that's as similar to the levels as you can get, I guess.
Yeah, true.
What would you call
That's
it?
such an excellent comparison.
What would you call your world?
What would I call it? Oh, I'd call it something like very poetic. Like Valhalla.
Ooh, that's good.
That's an
epic planet. That's a
very
planet to be
epic.
proud of, you know?
What would you call yours, Brendan?
Butthole. That's where they can combine. It'd be poop, of course. Planet poop.
Oh my god.
I would love the idea of like someone who lives there and they travel to a different planet, and like I want it to be a great planet too. Don't get me wrong, but I still think the idea that someone like loves where they live and then they go to another planet and they're like, oh, where are you coming from? And they have to go, I'm coming from poop.
Yeah, you're like your world's literally struggling to survive economically because you don't have enough travelers there or visitors because of the name of your planet.
No, well, poop is the currency. That's the whole thing.
Oh my god!
Okay, well, you asked, Reena.
Wait. Interesting thought though. What would be your currency on your planet?
There would be no currency. It would be a utopia.
Is
too much to ask.
But doesn't there have to be a currency or at least an exchanging of some sort of goods or transactions to happen in order for people to come on. Utopians don't exist. Utopian worlds don't exist.
Until they do.
Sorry, not to crush it.
Jill
almost had Bernie, but it never happened.
Jill was my first introduction to socialism. She was talking about socialism before anybody else was talking about socialism.
Wow,
Actually, that's true.
Yeah. This is factual.
Wow.
This is 100%
That's
factual.
true. I
She went to
studied abroad,
Sweden.
and when I was in high school, I studied abroad in Sweden, and I literally came back being like, "Fucking socialism, am I right?"
Wow. Well, tell us more.
That's so crazy. I forgot about that. Now
Yeah.
everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
To Bernie,
People thought Bernie got to me first, but Bernie didn't get to me.
Bernie took it after
Wow.
Jill.
Jill, you were Bernie
The
before
Swedish
Bernie.
agent.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Swedish chaos agent.
Bernie Burke.
What was it about socialism or like learning about it in Sweden that made you realize like, oh, this is the way?
There were so many things. Like I was in I went to a Swedish school, and all my classmates just had these like for example, if you go to school, if you're in high school and you go to school at least 90% of the time, like if you have a minimum of 90% attendance, you get an allowance from the government.
Oh.
Like you get I don't remember how much it was, but it was like maybe, I don't know, $200 a month or something. Like it's not a lot, but it's also like
More than nothing.
what an amazing perk. Like what a cool, great, don't you just they're taking care of their citizens.
It's a better system.
Stay in school. We'll literally pay you to do it.
They do have a very high education.
Yeah.
Also, happiness? Is Sweden the one that's very...
I think all of Scandinavia is pretty happy.
Yeah.
I had a Swedish roommate one semester in my off-campus house, and he was very well adjusted and got free education and was living the life. And moved into his own apartment at age like 16 and was just like making fun of me because I hadn't fucked like 37 women. He's just like, you
It's
Americans
Sweden.
are just so prude. That's like
That is true. That is true.
no, he was fun. I don't know where Max is nowadays. He was supposed to be a lawyer. That was
Max,
where we
you a
looked back
lawyer
then.
yet?
Yo, shout out to Max. Where you
shout out to
at?
Max.
If I ever need
know.
European law advice, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How is it just geographically, like the landscapes? What is Sweden like? Is it mountainous? Is it Moses?
It was not really. There weren't really any mountains. No, it was like it reminded me of Maine, where I'm from. Like there was a lot of like birch trees and pine trees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It looked like any sort of northern
Got you.
American city.
Okay.
Yes.
Is everybody super tall there?
The average height is definitely taller.
So a lot of aliens.
Yeah. Oh, they're
Whole
for
country of
sure
aliens.
there.
Yeah.
They're for sure there if they're anywhere.
Yeah, but yeah, do you blame them though? Because like if the quality of life is so good, and you were coming from another planet to Earth, wouldn't you want to go to the best place? It's like it'd be like if you went on vacation to the less good place of the options that you had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Like aliens are not in Iran. No one's just kidding.
Well, so they are in Iran.
Well, they actually.
I've never been. Yeah, totally.
I'd say they're probably in Iran, and they're probably in very cold places. They're probably in the hottest places and the coldest places, underground, and in the glaciers.
Yeah, you think they live underground?
I do think they're
And
flying.
in glaciers?
I think they're flying the world. No, I don't think they're flying the world, but I do think they are here, and they have underground bases where they're doing experiments. Yeah, I think they're in cahoots with the government.
All right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like pretty convinced at this point, but it may be the marijuana talking.
Yeah, Mary Jane, she's got a lot of conspiracies. She got a lot of thoughts. Underground civilizations. She knows things. Yeah. Jill, we're just gonna just in case because I just remembered that you if you want any more painters.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yes, I just remembered.
Well,
Yes,
my favorite painter is Jasper Johns.
How come?
Because he painted the most boring things. He painted like targets and the American flag and
Oh, the
numbers.
American flag, such a drag.
Yeah.
So boring.
Targets suck. So, alright, it's an alright store. They have good stuff there.
Sorry.
I'm not sponsored by Walmart. Anyway, continue. So he painted boring stuff.
Yeah, and I liked that he did that because he wasn't. His thing was like, I don't want to reveal anything about who I am. I just want to make paintings.
What do you think about that?
I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating because I feel like he revealed so much by trying so hard
Interesting.
to hide himself.
And what did you pick up? What do you think he revealed about himself?
Well, interestingly, it was, I mean, it's kind of like open knowledge in art history now, because he was a painter in the 1950s and he was living with another artist, Robert Rauschenberg. And at the time, they were just like living on the outside, like to the public world, they were just two guys living in an apartment building, like one on this floor, one on that floor. But in reality, they were lovers.
Yeah.
Which was totally not accepted at the time. And a lot of art historians theorize that was like, there's some psychology to it where he's, has to hide this element of his personality. And that's why he was so sort of like tight-lipped with everything he put out. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's really like just so fascinating, like such a fascinating like depiction of that experience. And he was an incredible painter. There's actually a retrospective of his at I think the Whitney right now. Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway, he's my favorite because
what colors does he
but
use?
it's not for those reasons really that I think he's my favorite. Although I like his backstory is very interesting to me. But I like his numbers paintings because they've just always been my favorite. Because, like, for example, he has a painting of a 5, and that's all it is, really. It's just a 5 with, it was like he laid down newspaper and then painted over it with white and then, like, traced the 5. And it's seems so boring on the surface. Like, you look at it and you're just like, all right, that's all it is. But it's actually really psychedelic when you think about it, because it's tricked you. Like, it's a 5, but it's not a 5. It's not like you can add it or use it for anything. It's just this weird symbol that we all understand, even though it's not accurate to some extent.
Yeah.
What do you mean by accurate?
Like, it just doesn't do anything that a 5 is supposed to do.
Because it's just being... I mean, because if... I don't know. I feel like if I would look at it long enough, I would just look at... or just see the movement of a line, basically, right? Because every number, every symbol, everything is just like streaks. That's not probably the best word, but is just a drawing. I guess it is just like, it's just a symbol, whatever, like you were saying. But it's like if you did like an 8, a 2, a 3, also an 8, like that looks like the infinity symbol or whatever, like these symbols that we just call whatever we call, we all universally know what it is just like a, I don't know, just a line morphed into many different shapes.
Yeah.
If you just like strip it down to its core.
Do you think that a distant group of aliens are responsible for our math systems?
So do you think ancient civilizations are aliens? Let me ask you that. Because if we're taking back to, Mayan calendar, their numeric system, their way, like, do you think ancient civilizations are aliens or had aliens? Jordan?
I'm a little divided. There are parts of me that think so, and there are parts of me that don't think so. The parts of me that think so are just because they had very sophisticated systems without, like, being able to communicate as rapidly as we could communicate now. So it just would have taken much longer for people back then to, like, come to conclusions. But they came to the conclusions so that it's really easy for us to have conclusions. So I don't know. I'm torn between whether they just got all the secrets from aliens. Like, the pyramids in Egypt, like, were they made by aliens? No, probably not. They were just probably made by people who the only purpose in life they had was to move boulders every single day. And that's all they ever did was move boulders all day. And their life was like 80 years. Well, not even 80 years. It was probably just like 20 years of just moving boulders.
Yeah.
But now we've created different types of meaning so that, like, you could literally have infinite meanings for your life, and if you don't like the meaning that you have right now, you could just change the meaning very quickly.
True. Well, I just want to take it back to the painter. For his, like, color scheme, was anything because I probably just, like, had to look up pictures of it, but was there things, because he was, like, closing off his actual personal life, were there, like, more darker tones in what he colored or painted, or were there things he still made bright, or were there,
There was, like, a lot of darkness, I would say.
Do you think his paintings would have been a lot more impressive if he painted about, if he was, not open in society, but open through his art about his sexuality and his relationship?
Do I think he would have been a better painter? Is that what you asked?
Yes. Or do you think that art would have been more impressive to you? I don't know. It's a weird question to ask because it doesn't exist.
A lot of them would just be dead if they were more open.
What do you mean?
About their sexualities.
The painters?
Because, like, a lot of people were in the closet.
Well, that's why I was curious
safety.
if Picasso, when he was living with his friend,
if they were lovers.
Yeah.
Might have been.
Also, he was Spanish, and, like, they're just more affectionate. I meant, like, Iranians are more affectionate. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not, like, certain, like, European people are not... It's just not... That came out wrong. That doesn't mean that too gay or whatever. People are totally gonna misconstrue what I'm saying, so just strike it off the record. But yes, I do, like, I am just curious if, like, his paintings would have been, I don't know, to, like, express the thing that he wanted to hide. There's got to be something more enticing there. There has to be something, like, what more he could have produced.
Sometimes
I think it would have been very different art.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But I think what's so interesting about it is that he was such an incredible painter that he could make these boring things and still went down in history.
Yeah.
Like, that really speaks to the presence of your art in, like, a physical space, especially because this was in the 50s, so it's not like people were really seeing it on TV or maybe in magazines, but a lot of it was in real life. And it's just crazy that you can paint numbers and people go crazy over it.
Yeah.
Like, that's really amazing.
That's true.
Yeah.
How are you with when you're developing your art, how much, like, a decision you made, how much you want to keep your personal life, you know, closer to you, like, obviously just not revealing so much through your comics or your whatever kind of graphics or art you're making?
I think that's a really tricky line that I walk, because I have characters who I relate to and who probably represent different aspects of my personality. But I'm just a human. Like, I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time. So, like, reflecting that kind of the stuff that you don't want to tell people, you know, that you're scared or, like, or you don't know if you're making the right decision, things like that. Like, that's kind of scary to show in a character because you're like, well, now everybody's gonna know. Now everybody's gonna know that I'm scared all the time. I don't know. But I do think, like...
But also that's something people relate to. That people call out when artists, musical artists, or whoever, when they're very raw. Yeah. Then you're just like, oh my God. Like, they're speaking to me. Like, this is like, like, you know, you wouldn't think somebody would relate to an experience even, and, like, they have, and you're like,
yes, I think that's such a good, concise point, because when I started putting these comics on just Instagram, like, I was just like, I'm gonna make just an Instagram just to, like, you know, bounce some ideas out there and not really thinking too hard about it. And also very nervous because I was like, I don't know, like, I don't see too many, like, comics quite like mine. They're, and, like, it's kind of a weird, it's a weird niche that I'm in. It's also, like, being kind of funny, but also kind of deep.
Also, because the fact that you're not a man.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, you know, it does make a difference whether we think about it or not, or like it or not, but there are many more, I don't know, would you say, Brendan, you definitely know more comics than I do, but are there more male, creators in the comic world?
Like art, like comic book artists specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of male. It definitely, like, probably has been, like, very male dominated. Just like there's a lot of things where it's just like men just take over the space, and we're just like, this is a fun thing. I want to be the one who does. Hey, everyone, let's go over here, and then I'll do it together, you know. So,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, through yours, Jill, there's definitely just not like, now I'm trying to describe, you know, a
like
woman.
A femininity
like,
to it?
Yeah, but, like, how do you even describe that? But I don't mean just femininity, just a smoother, gentler touch. Like, there's just something that, I mean, you just said the word poetic before as far as, like, when you're naming things, but you can also kind of, it's going to sound strange, but you can kind of see when something's visually poetic, when something just, like, I don't know, the curve of a line or the colors that are used or the way that you are, you know, putting a character's face together matters so much. Like, any, like, I'm, you know, people register a lot with faces, and people take in a lot emotionally through, you know, who they're seeing, like, whatever. And then when you see it translated to a children's book or like a, you know, your friend's comic or something, you're like, oh my God. Is it just me or I just had this experience? But it's, I don't know. That's just like the feeling I get from it. So it's very, it's very, what was my point, Brendan?
Your point was
being a woman doing comics.
It's very good. And Jill, how would you describe your style?
I think I like contours, and like simplicity, and I try to be elegant.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
I was like, gentle touch. I don't know. I try to be elegant and exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, because I really like colors. I like combining different colors, and I really love my comic characters because now that I have them designed, I can do all sorts of crazy stuff with them. So it's I'm excited to finish writing and like getting the tail end of this story out, because that's kind of what I'm getting back to right now. Because then after that I can just start playing around with images and just make single images with my characters. So. Yeah. It'll be fun.
Yeah. When you're creating a comic, is it like, do you find yourself coming up with like kind of like the more like story parts of it before the art, or is it kind of symbiotic or one for the other?
It's kind of symbiotic. I try to make thumbnails before I start anything because you have to be able to fit in, you know, what you want to say visually and what you want to say with words into, you know, one little box. So I usually think about like a moment that I'm like the next moment in the story. Like, what do I need to say to get them from point A to point B? And what do I need to show? Because that's what's nice about comics too, is you can fit in a lot because you are using two types of communication. So you can read something and then also like get the next thought that I want to communicate with looking at the picture. Or, you know, looking at both. So it's kind of like hand in hand. And sometimes in terms of, I always know like where I'm trying to go long term. But then it's just like the smaller steps in between that I'm kind of like figuring out. And sometimes I have a really good idea for what I want an image to look like and also what I want the text to be. And then sometimes I'm like, well, I know I have to show this, but what am I going to like say to get them there? Or I know I need to say this, but what should I show when I'm saying that? So, it's fun.
What's been like the longest time for that answer to come to you?
I don't know. I've gotten better at just settling on something faster. You know, just being like, I'm not quite sure what to do, but I'm just going to pick one thing. I usually don't I don't hem and haw over that too much.
So you're not like a perfectionist who has to, in the terms of like, you will obsess over, you know, this one detail until it feels just right.
To an extent, I will say. But I don't know, I have some things that I won't like settle for. Like I feel like if I have a drawing where like the character, you can do the like horizontal flip test, where it's like you have your drawing on Procreate and you can just flip it horizontal to like see like, does it look the same? Does it still look natural? Because sometimes you look at, I don't know, and there's no examples in here, but sometimes I'll like draw something and I'll be like that looks really good, and then I'll do the flip test and I'll be like, whoa, like this one eye is way smaller than the other, because like just reading it left or right as you draw it, like you measure out and fix all these things with your eyes, and because you kind of get used to it as you're looking at it.
My eyes would not pass the flip test. Those are uneven.
Right? Like, it's like that. Like, you get so used to looking at your own face, the same thing kind of happens in a drawing, because, but just not quite as, but it's also a drawing, so it's not realistic, so you kind of have to do the flip stuff like that.
It is very interesting. We were watching talk about like perfection and art, and basically art is imperfection. So like what are you trying to perfect? We were watching with Rick Rubin. Oh my gosh, what is the
Shangri-La?
Thank you.
Yeah, the docuseries on Hulu about Shangri-La.
Yeah, and they were just like sparked in my brain because I remember them having a conversation with just talking about any artist when you're trying to like really hone in on whatever this thing is, and you finding like fine toothing every inch and but then you're just like but it's what it is. You can't. How much can you have control over it when it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, it just needs to like evolve into. Also, like happy accidents.
Yeah.
Like when stuff happens, have you had that happen when you're like drawing or writing something and you're like, oh, I didn't plan that, but totally fits.
Yeah. I have small things like that happen all the time. Like I'll accidentally click a wrong button and it will change something. And then I'll be like, oh, I really like that. Or like maybe I don't want it for this, but I'm going to try that later because it looks really cool. I do that all the time.
Or were you always going to click that button?
The alien came behind you, grabbed your head.
Yes, was it a predetermined destiny or is it?
What's your relationship with like literal hand drawing versus doing the digital drawing that you kind of alluded to a little bit?
Okay, so I used to hand draw like everything. And I pretty much only do digital drawing now, just because it's just way more convenient. Like, just being able to like immediately fill something in, like it's so much faster. And I like the undo button a lot. Love the undo button because like erasing something takes time. Like I want to expedite the process. But I feel like there's something really soothing about drawing like pen and paper or like pencil to paper. That's more like a comfort thing for me, I think. Like my comics on the iPad and like in Photoshop are like, that's work kind of. Like it's a labor of love, but I really only like draw by hand to relax now. Yeah, like to doodle or just fuck around. Yeah,
it's kind of similar with like photography, I think too, where I think like even though like not everyone necessarily grows up using film photography, I think like film photography is like whether it's like video or like stills, it's still like the origin of that particular art form, and it's like undoubtedly digital is just easier because it's like you like the fact that you can like shoot something with a camera and you can see what it's going to be like as it's being either filmed or like caught on camera is like the thing is like there are things about like more like primitive art forms for lack of a better term, like ones that are a little bit older that like there's a lot of benefits to those, and also like the kind of like the untapped like things that you can do with like the more advanced ones also allow for a different element of creativity you can do. And it's like there's just benefits of both, I guess, right?
But come on, who wants the stress of film?
But it looks great though. It looks great.
It does.
It looks great.
There's just so much that can go wrong.
High risk, high reward.
Digital
it does
is just,
look great.
Yeah. That's true. High risk, high reward. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Are you interested? Like, what are your thoughts on like animation or like things that you've watched that are animated?
Gosh, the most recent animated thing I watched was Neon Genesis Evangelion. Have you guys seen it?
No. What is this?
Oh my god. It's like an anime from like the 90s, I think. But it's super depressing. Like,
ooh, okay.
It's like
we're in.
It's like I haven't watched a lot of anime, but after like watching this show, it like kind of fucked me up, and so I like kind of researched it, and it's like a kind of a criticism of this genre of anime that's like called mecha, which is like giant robots and people like fighting the giant robots, or like giant robots fighting each other. I don't know, I guess it's a thing, but so this one is like, it's kind of like there's these kids who have to pilot these giant robots to fight off giant aliens that are attacking Earth. but they're like kind of conflicted, and it's like they feel bad, like it's really violent and like it's scary, like they're just kids, and the aliens are really scary. And the robots are really scary.
That's a lot to wrestle with.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what if that's just the future generation?
And the humans are scary too.
Well, would it be any different than the world we're living now? There's always been war, and there's always going to be war.
Yeah, at least robots versus aliens. I mean, at least you think robots and aliens fight each other.
It's a good movie.
Good movie. Good movie.
Does anyone here smoke Juul?
What?
Does anyone here smoke Juul?
No.
Not anymore. She got me to quit.
Damn it.
Hire her to be your
Sorry,
quitting
people.
analyst.
Bad things
She'll
happen
throw it out
to
the
very
window.
close family members, so I'm not about it.
Yeah, no Juul.
Not specifically with the Juul, I'm saying nicotine in general, but obviously the Juul is really no different.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't
I
put the
understand
Jew in
it's big
Juul. We are
I used to put the
Jews.
Jew in Juul.
Yeah.
I retired from my juuling days. I also used to rip bong tobacco when I used
that
to
just
know
sounds
Jill really
gross.
hardcore.
Yeah. Disgusting. God,
Yeah.
that's gross.
This podcast brought to you by Bong Tobacco. Also Juul.
Oh,
Well,
man.
we're
if you're like about to die, like in 2 years, I would say just rip bong tobacco every day the rest of your life until you get a job.
Children, don't take his advice.
But children, thank you for listening to Sessions with Mary Jane. We appreciate you being here.
We are about to wrap up, so just if there's anything you want to put on your list of painters.
Ooh, let's do something more current.
Are there any painters that people like a lot that you're like, nah, overrated?
Yeah, Cezanne.
Ooh, I saw a Cezanne exhibit. I think it was, yeah.
I'm not into it.
Yeah. Yes.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid.
Yeah, I think it was the Metropolitan.
These are stupid.
At the moment, they had like an entire almost like a floor of an exhibit dedicated to him, and I agree because it had like all this stuff from when he when he first started drawing all the way through his entire life, and it was just like I agree, it was not all that impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's like some like niche little painter who I really like the work of. From art
I like
history.
you're going for the niche ones and not
the
something
special.
basic ones that everybody knows. They're so basic.
Basic.
I guess I will shout out Lee Krasner, who is Jackson Pollock's wife.
All right.
And
Also Jackson Pollock.
Yep.
He didn't allow her to paint because she was better than him.
Wow.
And he was basically just like was controlling, but she was a great painter, and when he died she started painting again, and her work is really good. So
Wow.
yeah, so she deserves recognition.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's probably had to be or more common than we think. I don't know.
Oh,
just really,
for sure.
really back in the day, or they had
Women
one.
weren't allowed in museums for like a long
That's
time.
ridiculous.
Only
That's
until
ridiculous.
oh gosh, I mean, it was like probably 50s and 60s when they started to be like allowed.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was like
my God,
not that
that's
long
crazy.
ago.
Were there
Or
museums?
they, like women when they made paintings and like
I don't know if it was like an
sign-
official rule, but I think it was just nobody took them seriously.
Yeah.
They would sign the husband's or whoever's name or their they'd have a pen name, but yeah, that is crazy that it's not even.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite museums that you like seeing artwork at?
I really liked the Smithsonian of American Art in DC. They have a really cool selection of like everything from art historical to like contemporary. Really cool. Like last time I was there, they had this one exhibit that was a huge room. And like, I don't know, ceilings were like maybe 30 feet tall and just a huge room. And they had this whole wall of like TV screens. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they were like actual, like, you know, the curved like analog TV, kind of like old fashioned. And it was this like huge display, and they each had like one kind of pixel of the bigger picture, and it was just like a really cool, like, I don't know, it was really very, very future. Like it was like, oh, this is like, this is really contemporary art.
Wow. Is there a museum you'd like to go to?
I am interested in these immersive exhibits where it's just like rooms full of like color and light. Just because I feel like that is also like really a current moment in art. Like I like to kind of have my pulse on what's going on. And I think it's so interesting. I think one of the coolest things about museums is like going in, you know, being just a human who goes in and experiences art and like what it is like to experience it. Like that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
Like what do people do in there? How does it make you feel? Like what does it make you think about? Yeah, so I think like those immersive exhibits are cool in that way. They make you think and feel kind of interesting ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If you had a Jill Burke immersive museum, what kind of music, if there was music, what kind of music would be playing?
I feel like it would be different for like every room. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be cool to have like, I guess it depends what I was trying to say. If it was like my comics, it would be like techno, probably.
Yeah.
Just like a sick DJ. Yeah, that'd be cool. Probably like a Pache, like techno and classical mashed together.
Ooh, yeah,
that'd be cool. But obviously, I'm partial to jazz too, from living in New Orleans. That's always like makes so much sense with visual art. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you listen to music when you paint, or do you draw, or do anything?
Yeah,
creative?
usually, well, or a podcast. I always listen to something and just kind of like zone out and just vibe.
Nice.
The third V.
Yeah.
Jordan, is there anything you'd like to plug for Late Night Hump while Jill thinks of any other painters she wants to add on her list?
Oh, just make sure you get your tickets to November 12th at the Players Theater, latenighthump.com/shows. That's our big one. And we're chugging away at NJ Weedman's joint as well, the first, second, and third hump day of the month. If you're catching this immediately, you could see us do improv. If you're catching this a little bit later, it's probably going to be a stand-up heavy show. So come on out and laugh before it gets super freaking cold and nobody wants to leave and everybody just stays inside and watches Netflix all day.
Winter is upon us, it is true, if you live in the northeastern area and other parts of the country also.
But also, then it's almost the holidays.
It's almost the holidays, yeah. Jill, do you have any other painters you wanted to throw up at the buzzer before we wrap up for the pod?
I really can't think of any good ones.
It's okay.
What's your final?
Right now we are at 6. 6 painters.
Woohoo!
6 painters?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, let me get to an even 7.
All right,
6
cool.
is
Yes.
one short of the perfect number.
That's right.
Read the Bible, anyone?
That's right. Hello.
I will
Bunch of
shout out
Jews.
Helen Frankenthaler. She was one of the first.
Wow, what a great last name.
Yeah, that's a
She-
great one.
Dollar.
Yeah, she was started to break the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's going to end on. Jill, thank you so much. Do you want before we say goodbye to the people listening at home or in their cars or in their shower, wherever they are, where they can find your stuff again and where they can see your work?
Yeah, so you can go to vvcomics.net. That's V as in Victor. Or you can go to my Instagram at vvcomics.
Thank you, Jill.
Also, if you...
No, go ahead.
You go first.
You go, Jordan. You go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if you're taking a shower and you're on hour and a half of your shower right now, that is you got to get out. Your back is probably really red from the hot water.
Right, very pruny.
Or also just guys, listen to The Morning Shower, which is the weekday podcast that LNH does, where we do a joke or 2 or 10 or 20 more likely about the news of the day and what's going on, because we're gonna wake up and like open our eyes and see, oh my god, shit's going crazy, or this shit is really weird, or shit is really funny. Either way, you're gonna see it, and then it's only 10 minutes, so then that's the perfect length of a shower to take instead.
Hey, isn't that like the same thing as the Daily Show or like Weekend Update?
It's so different. It couldn't be more different.
Because
Thank you
it's
for
the
asking.
morning. It's the morning. So we get everything
6-3-1-8.
first. We get it first before everybody else
Right,
gets
hot
it.
off the press.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Have a good
Peace out.
night.
Bye.